I would like to introduce Kathryn Thomas. She is the Executive Director of People Helping People. Her topic today is going to be on exploring the theme of breaking cycles and creating opportunity, reverse engineering life and career. Kathryn Thomas runs the nonprofit People Helping People, which is based in Salt Lake City, and it's making a powerful impact across Utah. PHP is dedicated to helping low-income women, especially single mothers, achieve financial independence through meaningful employment. And each year they support over 1,100 women in building sustainable careers and brighter futures. Kathryn's journey with PHP began as a volunteer mentor where she drew from her own experience as a single parent to guide and uplift others. And today she leads the organization with vision and heart, expanding its reach and deepening its impact in our communities. We're proud to say that MarketStar has partnered with People Helping People over the last several years, and we're honored to be one of their employer partners. This year, MarketStar received both their Employer Legacy Award and the Donor Legacy Award in recognition of some of the participation that we've had and how we've been able to help them and empower women through meaningful employment. And so in conjunction with Kathryn's visit and the mission of People Helping People, the Women in Business Group is excited to announce that we're going to be running a donation drive starting today in both our Ogden and Salt Lake City offices. This drive is going to run for the next 3 weeks leading up to our fall event on November 5th. And this drive is going to be collecting office supplies and home cleaning supplies to support the women and the mothers facing poverty who are actively working through the PHP program. And we're also proud to share that the MarketStar Foundation will be contributing 150 items to kick off this effort. So let's come together and make a meaningful difference for this. And please join me now in welcoming Kathryn Thomas.
Thank you so much, Devin. That was a fun surprise this morning, a little add-on to some of our conversation over the last several weeks. And I appreciate the introduction to People Helping People. If anyone is interested in volunteering with our program, you can learn more about how to get involved at phputah.org. And that's just a little bit of my shameless plug for our employment program. If you don't take advantage of your platform, what was all the hard work for, right? So I do want to say thank you so much for having me this morning. Right on brand. I've got my coffee. I've got my Diet Coke, got my breakfast of champions. I'm ready to go. I run a nights and weekends program, so mornings are a little bit of a struggle for me, but I'm excited to be here today, so thank you. I do want to especially thank Devin and the team at MarketStar, who, like he said, have been community champions and partners of the People Helping People program as an employer partner, providing volunteers, and as a donor since 2019. So we've got quite a bit of history. If we can go to the next slide. I want to start with a quick personal backstory. And when I look at these photos, it sometimes feels surreal to think of where I was 35 plus years ago, or even 10 or 15 years ago for that matter. I was a teen mom, having my very first when I was still a senior in high school. I was told early on that I would be a statistic, that my life was destined for failure. I married my baby daddy, and we had 2 more amazing, beautiful children, but it was an extremely turbulent marriage. And after about 10 years, I found the strength to leave, but then found myself as a very young single mother of 3. So I worked multiple part-time jobs to support us. I lived in self-doubt daily. I battled depression. I struggled every day to beat the status quo and really to prove everyone wrong. Fortunately, I came out of the womb with a determination and level of grit that I believe today still fuels my drive, that helps me get out of bed every single morning. But during that time, I sought out mentors. I mimicked people more successful than I was. I swallowed my pride. I put myself out there. Without realizing it at the time, I was a student of success and had already started to reverse engineer my life. And what started is quite honestly a bit of a middle finger to the world, but ultimately became my own personal why to define my own path and my own story. So fast forward 30 plus years now as the executive director of People Helping People, it's easy for me to point out what did and didn't work. But what I do know is that if we don't get super specific in why we do something, what drives us, what's holding us back, we can get complacent and many times even resentful. I want you to think about how you set goals. How many of you are goal setters? Maybe just show of hands or in chat. If you set goals daily or weekly, or maybe get pumped about a clean slate, setting New Year's resolutions, I know for me, I am the queen of daily to-do lists and monthly goals. Nothing feeds my adrenaline more than crossing something off my list. And because my birthday is smack dab in the middle of the year, I choose that time for self-reflection and visualizing both short-term and long-term goals. So like I said, I want you to be thinking about the goals that you set. Why do you set goals? What determines the goals that you set? And then how frequently do those goals change and evolve? So our topic this morning is about creating opportunities for ourselves that will help break cycles. This is where reverse engineering our lives and careers can help us create that roadmap that we need to stay focused, but also to help us visualize the end result and those possibilities. Go to the next slide. So let's set the stage for this morning. I'm going to talk about 3 pillars. The very first one is accountability, recognizing what we can and cannot control. The next one is alignment, the power of proximity, and I'll do a deeper dive on that here in a second. And action, taking the steps necessary to break cycles and to create change. Okay, next slide. So we'll start with accountability. The moment we take accountability, we step out of victim mode and into owning our story. I talk a lot about the importance of recognizing what we can control and then letting go of excuses. Many times, the barriers that we face, as real as they may seem, many times those become excuses in our lives. Accountability is about power. When I say I choose how I want to show up, what I commit to, and how I respond, I'm shifting from being acted upon to being an active creator and narrator in my life. There's power in not allowing someone else to define our character for us, to make those choices for us. And I am a true believer from my own experiences that our circumstances do not define us. And small choices compound, showing up prepared, saying yes to opportunities that stretch us, saying no to things that drain us. That's equally, if not more important. Every day is a series of firsts and small and big choices that shape whether we're reinforcing old habits and cycles or creating new ones. Growth can be uncomfortable, right? Growth can be really scary. But most of the time, if we stay status quo, we stay in that comfort zone, which many times is anything but comfortable, it's going to get us the exact same results. I'll give you a couple of examples about how small choices can compound. And I'll start with some professional examples. Showing up prepared, right? Sounds sometimes easier said than done, but taking an extra 10 minutes each evening to review tomorrow's schedule. Over time, you start to be seen as somebody reliable, detail-oriented, leadership-ready, or even having better time management just by adding an extra 10 minutes and that preparedness. Saying yes selectively, this is so crucial. Choosing projects that align with your long-term goals. That positions you as someone strategic, not just busy. I'll give you a personal example. Saving small amounts, right? Putting aside maybe just $25 a paycheck. At the end of the year, that can add up to $600, more than $600 a year, which doesn't sound like a whole bunch these days. But that also becomes a little extra money that we can use for education or travel or investments or an emergency fund. Those small steps lead to big results. Couple more examples, some family and community examples. Role modeling for children. This is so important today and always. But choosing to talk positively about work instead of complaining. It shapes how children view work ethic and possibility. And then supporting others, introducing one person to a resource, a job lead, a mentor. Over time, that builds a support network and it pays it forward. And it shows that you're somebody worth getting to know, that you're that master connector. Those are some positive examples. So what about examples of choices like, I don't know, avoiding hard conversations, putting everyone else first, reacting out of fear or scarcity, or one that I see a lot in the business community, especially for us women, overcommitting. As we think about situations that keep repeating for us or that we often complain about or feel stuck in, think about what that pattern is costing you. Time, peace, confidence, opportunity. Ask yourself, who or what benefits from me staying in this cycle? Cycles thrive in silence. I have that quote right here on my computer, actually. Cycles thrive in silence. Recognizing a pattern is only half the work. Creating new habits, as we know, it takes time and it takes conscious choices. Accountability proves or provides the structure to sustain that change. Next slide. So our first prompting question, I want you to think about what is one choice that you've made in this past year that has either broken an old cycle or unintentionally maybe reinforced one, or maybe what is one choice that you've made that's created a new habit? I just want you to think about that for a few minutes or for a few seconds. All right, we'll go to the next slide. All right, our next pillar, examples of success. My own experiences, the women that we work with every single day, none of us succeed alone, right? When you think about how it is you're in the seat today, the job that you have today, the experiences, the opportunities that you have today, none of us succeed alone. Even the crummiest people around us show us something we either want or we don't want to be or do. Who we surround ourselves with matters deeply, right? I think we all can see that and realize that. Aligning with people who are living the lives that we aspire to can truly accelerate our growth. And this applies both personally and professionally. It's that power of proximity. Jim Rohn, if you guys are familiar with Jim Rohn, he's one of my favorite motivational speakers and business philosophers. He said, you are the average of the 5 people who you spend the most time with. I'm sure all of us have heard that before, right? Why do you think that is? The tone, optimism, or negativity of the people that are around us can shift our own outlook, and subconsciously, we start to mirror the habits of those that we're around the most. If you think about yourself as a teenager all those years ago, and I'm going through this all over again with what I consider my second letter. I've got a 12-year-old, 13-year-old, just started 7th grade. You think about yourself as a teenager and those coming of age years and how much our peers helped shape our identity and self-perception. We would rise and fall to the level of our friends, right? We would make decisions based on what our friends thought were cool, or we would dress in a way that we thought was, cool to our friends. That doesn't stop as we age necessarily. And sometimes it even gets to be more important, in my opinion. And if you're trying to break an old cycle, the company you keep is critical. You wouldn't hire a life coach who didn't have life experience, right? You wouldn't hire a personal trainer who was unhealthy. If everyone around you was struggling to make ends meet, it would be really easy to assume that that was normal behavior. Poverty, for example, isn't about lack of money. It's often about a lack of access. But success has a way of leaving us clues. And once you recognize that and you start to figure that out, you stop believing that you have to figure it all out on your own. And that's a really empowering moment. An example would be decision-making patterns. Successful people often say no to things that don't align with their goals. And the clue here is to pay attention to what they turn down as much as what they say yes to. That's a really important clue. Another example would be resiliency. How do successful people handle setbacks, and do they adapt quickly? Do they ask for help? Do they pivot with grace? The clue here is success is not about avoiding failure. It's about learning how to recover or push through those failures faster. When I first got divorced, I knew that I needed to be the primary earner for the first time in my life. So I needed to learn how to make money and to make money fast. It was like putting a puzzle together. When can I work? What do I think I'm good at? What do I think other people think I'm good at? And if there are jobs that might pay me for the things that not only I felt I was good at, but also that I was interested in. So I started to look outside of my comfort zone and the people I was most familiar with. And I sought out different examples, which led me to my first real job in Park City, Utah. At the time, I figured if I was going to learn how to make money, I needed to be around money. And those of you familiar with Park City, I was probably spot on in that geographic choice. But that proximity had substantial spillover benefits from personal relationships, national connections, job and business opportunities, to visible examples of bigger possibilities. It truly shifted how I saw myself, how I redefined success, and what I knew I wanted, not only for myself, but also for my children. Finding examples and then being examples are equally important. Sometimes other people see potential in us before we fully believe it in ourselves. Sometimes we have people around us watching our every move without us even knowing it. The term that I really like to use, and I say this a lot throughout our program, is borrowing belief. And this is why mentors, role models, and even peer accountability partners are so important, both personally and professionally, within your organization and the other circles and groups that you participate in. So ask yourself, who do I need in my circle? Do the people that I'm spending the most time with push me forward, or are they keeping me comfortable where I'm at? And comfortable sometimes equals complacent. Aligning with examples of success doesn't mean that I'm copying somebody else's path. It means that I'm studying their traits, their discipline, their mindset, maybe learning a different way of doing something, and then adapting it to my own personal situation. We model behaviors, not just admire the outcomes. So ask yourself, who do you think you're an example to right now in your personal and professional life? And are you currently modeling the behaviors that you expect in others? So next slide, our next prompting question, be thinking about who in your life, personally or professionally, is modeling the kind of success that you want to achieve. Maybe it's somebody within your company right now. Maybe it's a supervisor. Maybe it's a friend or a neighbor or somebody within a personal network that you hold in high regard. How are you aligning yourself with that? A couple of ideas as you're thinking about who those people may be. Make a wish list of the 3 people that you admire and connect with them on LinkedIn. Great way to connect. I love LinkedIn for professional networking and those soft introductions. Maybe find somebody within your company and ask them about their career path, their skill set in order to do the job that they're doing. Ask if you can help on a project that might get you out of your comfort zone, but help you upskill and forge that relationship. So there are some great ways to really grow those professional networks. Okay, next slide. And quick Diet Coke break. I know people are mortified when I start my day with a Diet Coke, but I'm not even going to apologize. I've earned that too. Okay, so we're going to bring in our third pillar. And reverse engineering, this has got to be one of my favorite ways to approach life. This is one of my favorite topics to go over. We talk a lot about this in our program here at People Helping People. So I want you to be thinking, when you plan a vacation, you've earned your PTO, you're ready to take some time off, it usually starts with some pain point, right? And pain, not in the literal sense, but some pain point, something needs to change, right? You need a change of scenery. You need a change in routine. Those changes are what propel you forward into thinking about possibilities that maybe you want to escape or you want to try something new. But when you think about taking time off or taking a vacation, what is the very first thing that we think about? The very first thing that we think about. It usually starts with the end destination, right? It thinks about where you're going to go. Is it going to the beach? Is it going camping? Is it Disneyland? We think about the end destination and then we work backwards. Maybe without realizing it, we already reverse engineer our plans. What time of year am I going? So what do I need to pack? What the weather's going to be like? What is it going to cost me? How am I going to get there? Who's going to cover me at work? When do I need to put in my PTO request? And who am I maybe inviting along with me? We reverse engineer those steps so that we can get to the end destination. And each step moves us closer to the experience we want and helps guide our choices and establish the goals. Like, do I need to start saving today? Do I really need to buy that now? Or is that going to impact my ability to shop on vacation or get a rental car? Visualizing that end destination helps you stay accountable to your choices. The most successful people that I know did not just drift into success, they designed it. And most of us were taught to think forward, right? What is my next job? What is my next task? What is my next duty? What is my next hour? But success truly is designed backwards. So we need to start with the end in mind. What do you want for your life? What do you want it to look like 10 years from now? What impact do you want to be known for? What do you want people to say about you when you're not in the room? And then we work backwards. So I want you to close your eyes for about 20 seconds. And yes, quite literally, I want you to close your eyes. And I want you to visualize yourself 10 years from now. And as you're visualizing that, what are you wearing? Where are you standing? Where are you living? What are you doing? All right, open your eyes. Now I want you to think about what small steps can you take now or tomorrow or in a month or in a year. And then as we go through that process, we need to review, we need to measure, we need to adjust and pivot on an ongoing basis. Goals and objectives are going to change. They should change. My driving force today is substantially different than what it was 25, 30 years ago. My goals today are substantially different. There's some similarities as I thread things together over the years, but your goals and objectives should change. What's important to you today may not be important tomorrow, it might look differently, and that's okay. The days of mapping out an entire career path are over. Unless you are 1000% certain you're going to be a doctor or an attorney, for example, your life is going to pivot several times, several times. So the key is to be present and stay aware and awake about what is around you right now, but also to be super succinct and clear on what drives you so that decisions align with big picture goals and long-term successes. You think about that vacation analogy again. How are you going to get there? How do we take that same process and apply it in our careers, in our relationships, in all of our interactions? If you think about your work history at this point, you have probably already pivoted several times and maybe didn't even think that you would be where you are right now. I know I didn't. But when I look back and connect all of the dots, I realize there have been a series of opportunities and choices. That's an important piece too. That has helped keep me aligned with my big picture goals and priorities. One of the big things that we work on at People Helping People is determining what it is that's preventing her from reaching both personal and professional success. Is it childcare? Is it a reliable car, lack of professional tools, skill set, confidence, health problems? We also talk about what drives her. Why that better job? What is that money going to do for you? How are things going to look when they're different? What will you be doing when you make the money that you deserve? And then we look at work as a tool to overcome those barriers. And then we reverse engineer possible outcomes. I'll give you an example. So Becky had 3 small children that would need to be in daycare when she found a job. She did not have a reliable car and really wanted to be home. Excuse me. She really wanted to be home when her kids either went to school or when they came home. She didn't want to be gone for both of those moments. She also felt that she was a natural leader, really wanted to work on a team and with a company that provided leadership opportunities and career paths and corporate training. One of her whys for wanting to find a good job and build a career was to buy her first home so that her family wasn't constantly moving. And she also wanted to save up money so she could take her family on their first vacation to Disneyland. She desperately needed to upskill and find an employer that would value her skill set as a mother and overlook a gap in her work history. So as she job searched, she stayed focused on her needs and wants for that ideal employer. She watched for flexible schedules with employers close to home or on the bus route. She watched for benefits that included health insurance and childcare reimbursement and paid training. She focused on applying only with employers that offered a collaborative work environment and career paths that aligned with her goals. And after several weeks and several interviews, she landed a job with a great company that would help her work towards the life that she'd envisioned for herself and her children. And they even offered a vacation benefit. She was finally able to take her kids to Disneyland. When you reverse engineer your life, you stop letting life happen to you. You start building with intention. Remember that first pillar, accountability and owning your story. And here's the ripple effect. When other people see you designing and pursuing your life with purpose and plan, they are inspired to do the same thing. Your intentionality becomes their permission. Think about how powerful that statement is. Okay, next slide, our last prompting question. If you could design your life backwards 10 years from now, what would it look like? And then what is one step that you can take today towards that vision? And I would strongly recommend that you write that down and you put it somewhere that you can look at every single day. There is something very powerful about visualizing what it is you're working towards. So write that down. Think about what is one step that you can take today.